You always leave your dirty laundry on the floor. You never come home on time. You always leave water in the soap dish. Do these sound familiar? This is a habit that I had going into marriage, and we wanted to talk about it because I think that often people have the problem of using the words always and never. What's the problem with using these words? What are some of the problems using these words?
Well, it's an accusation, right? And it's also not strictly true. You almost never have someone never doing something or always doing something. It's sort of an attack on your spouse's character.
So with the accusation, if I say that you always leave your socks on the floor, I'm accusing you of always doing it, right? What's the problem with that?
Well, I might think, well, no, I've been trying to pick them up lately, and I went out of my way to get them, and I actually got them the last 3 days, and I got it most of the time last week. I'm not getting any credit for what I tried to do.
That's true. It's a discouragement, right?
Right,
it discourages your spouse.
Right.
It's like, why should I even bother if I'm going to be accused of never doing it?
Right.
Right. So it's kind of a discouragement. Right. So
and
who wants to discourage their spouse? Yeah, it's not a good thing.
So it's not strictly true, and immediately, a person could feel attacked. So they're, going into fight or flight right away. It's sort of a harsh way to start what should be a productive conversation.
So the words are kind of loaded, where if I start off saying, you always do this, right away, before you even hear what I'm saying, you automatically think, oh no, she's frustrated. I've done something wrong. We're in a war zone. The usual war zone whenever she uses those words, or he uses those words, whichever spouse is doing it.
When those words come up, we always get into a fight.
Right. The words are loaded. That's one reason to definitely avoid them, right?
Yeah.
And they are an exaggeration, right?
Yes.
It's not always true. You do sometimes pick up your socks, and I might not even notice because they're not there.
Right. It might feel true, right? You might not notice the time, like you said, the socks got picked up. So in one sense, it's true that it feels true, but strictly speaking, it's not, and the person being attacked isn't going to see it that way, most likely.
And in a sense, it's also attacking your character, right?
Right,
like the spouse might be making his or her spouse out to be the bad guy always,
Right.
So how do we avoid this?
Well, try to get the conversation off to a smooth start. So if you're feeling annoyed, just don't let that come out. Just hold that down for a little bit. And then, of course, don't use always and never. So start out with something positive.
Okay, so rather than showing my annoyance, you always leave water in the soap dish, I can start positive, like, even though it takes effort, this is kind of what we're talking about anyway, or use effort to make communication not a war zone, but something nice, because we are married after all, right?
Yes.
So rather than saying, you always leave water in the soap dish, I might say, I love the soap dish we bought. It makes our bathroom look so fancy. I've noticed that lately it's had a lot of water in it. It kind of makes the soap a gooey mess. How can we keep it from doing that? What do you think? What are some thoughts?
Yeah. So that seems really good, right? I don't see any accusation there. Looks like someone's actually asking for help for how to solve problems, and guys in particular tend to like to solve problems. So now, instead of the guy worrying about how do I defend myself, he's thinking about like, oh, okay, well, how can I solve this problem, right? There's a way to win there, right?
Yeah. That makes sense. I love it. And you're not accusing anyone of anything, and you're not showing annoyance, and you're starting the conversation in a nice way. I love this soap dish that we bought. It's like a positive, oh, she used the word. I mean, you don't even think about it. It's just a positive way of starting a conversation. Excellent. Okay, so challenge.
Okay. So just it helps to try this out and kind of burn it into the brain a little bit.
We have a challenge for you.
Yeah. So spend a few minutes with your spouse and make some ridiculous always or never type statements, and then, kind of poke fun at that and laugh and have some fun with it.
The reason for doing this, that sounds kind of silly, but when we poke fun at something, we kind of get it in our heads. It's like you're putting a spotlight on the ridiculousness of this thing that you're now poking fun at. So next time you use the word always or never in a way that it's not really true, you kind of remember that. You remember how ridiculous it is. You always do this. Well, we had fun with that recently,
now
right?
It's an inside joke, right?
Yeah, exactly. It becomes an inside joke. So go ahead and do that. And, maybe even reword them and say, how would we say that instead, in a positive manner, and give it a try.